Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of Origins of Things and Stuff. I am your hostess, Illuminatia.
She is the hostess with the mostest, and I am the second in command. I know. Hi, I'm Nick the Rat, everybody.
Magic, witchcraft, wizardry, shamans, voodoo. All right, let's get started here. I just started to start off with witches. Witches. So, about them witches. Ooh, oh my. All right. So they had some biblical origins. So the earliest record is from the Bible, from the book of Samuel. And what happened was King Saul searched for the witch of Endor to summon a spirit of Samuel. To assist him in the defeat of the Palestinian army. So the reason is this witch came by and she gave a prophecy of him and Saul's son's death. And so push came to shove, the battle with the Palestinians came about, and his sons died in the battle, and Saul was so upset that he killed himself. Another mention of a witch is Exodus 22:18, and it's quoted, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live."
Wait a sec. Are you trying to say that the first time the word witch was used was in the Bible?
I think it was. Maybe. I mean, it's not the first time the concept of a witch came to be, but
like the first written?
Yeah, I believe so.
What came first? This is going to sound sexist. It's not meant to be sexist, but witch is just like, it looks like the word bitch a lot. It looks like maybe some guy that had an accent was like, "You witch," when he meant to say bitch, and that's how the word originated. I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also what you call a female dog, and dogs have been associated with witches. Like, you'll see later on what I'm talking about. All right. Let's see. From Samuel 15:23. For rebellion, as is the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness, as is iniquity and idolatry. Iniquity. There you go. I know how to read. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. This is King Samuel. So there's another mention. So the Roman, Catholics and Christians outlawed ancient pagan practices and would prosecute individuals who continued to practice. And that's when the evil pagan ritual practicing witches came to be, and men. So
but
the female
men were warlocks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the witch was used for both sexes back then. It wasn't clear.
Huh. It's a gender-neutral term, witch.
I think it might have been. Female pagans performed rituals as healers and even alchemists. So there have been hints of female alchemists in history. So these pagans living amongst the new Catholic, Roman Christians, rule eventually combined over time. So for instance, and I can go into this, I think, probably in a later episode, but the top example that I can think of off the top of my head is so the Christmas tree, Christ Mass tree. You put lights on a Christmas tree. It's very traditional to, kill a tree and put lights on it. So the pagan ritual of there's a pagan ritual of burning a tree. Let me look that up. Pagan.
That's how they kept themselves warm. That's called camping. No.
There's some kind of significance. So yeah, there's a Yule log thing. I think it was a cleansing ritual.
Yeah, there'd be like if somebody died or something, I think you're supposed to burn the Yule log. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that come from the Nords and the pagans.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, that
Then
was
the
a
Christians killed them all.
mhm,
I mean,
more or less actually. Yeah. So that was a fun discovery that I made. Same with Easter being actually rooted in Ishtar, who was a Mesopotamian goddess of fertility. And that's why Easter is associated with the rebirth of Jesus and things coming to life. And, springtime, everything looks dead until spring comes, and then all of a sudden everything seems to come back to life. So Jesus coming back to life was also associated with spring. And Easter, yeah, Easter sounds an awful lot like Ishtar or Esther. So anyway, I digress. But yeah, any pagan ritual was considered to be devil's work, according to Christians. In the 14th century, condemned witchcraft as heresy crime, which was punishable by death.
I think Zoom meetings are the devil's work.
Yes. Oh man. So this included any kind of herbalism, because this is parallels big pharma today, but any herbalism that was performed by any of the witches or pagans was in competition with medicine that was in the process of being commercialized at the time. Interesting, huh? How things have changed. Not okay.
Big pharma.
Big pharma. So fast forward to the Salem witch trials.
Oh, that lady's floating outside there.
Yeah, floating. That's right. She's just floating. So there's a picture. I found an old picture of this old lady and a young lady. The young lady stitching, and they're sitting next to a window. And outside the window is this other lady being hung. These little dudes in three-corner hats cheering because they hung up.
Oh, I thought she was flying. The old lady looks pissed. She's like, she took one of
They
my
seem
witches
indifferent.
from
Like
me.
the other girl wearing the pearl necklace, she's like, "Oh, look at that! It's such a nice day today."
She probably called those guys to kill her. She probably was like, "Oh, my sister's a witch," and that's like the
Actually,
mom sitting there and was like, "You bitch, you got her
if they
killed."
did that, they would rat each other out. Women were fucking. You think women are catty now? God damn, they were not nice to each other during the Salem witch trials. Let me tell you what. All right. So what sparked it all? What started everything?
Snoop Dogg. No, I'm joking.
Snoop Dogg. Oh, Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
So what started it all? So I guess the account is in 1692. There are these two young girls named Elizabeth Paris and Abigail Williams, and they're 9 and 11 years old, respectively. And they started acting all crazy. So what they do was they start convulsing and screaming and contorting themselves and just acting cuckoo.
Sounds like they were on a date with me.
Oh, okay. What do you say that causes these contortions?
It's not what I say. It's what I do.
Wow. Well done.
I put this stuff in their drink. It makes them all sleepy and contorted and stuff. And I'm joking. That's horrible. I would never.
Jokes. Silly goose. All right. We're totally getting kicked off YouTube again. Anyway.
Fuck YouTube.
I hate them. My episode was great about porn. Anyway, I digress.
It was amazing.
I know. God.
Just
Um,
re-edit it. Just blur all the dongs. It'll take forever, but
yeah, I'll figure it out.
eh.
But yes, so this guy, he was a doctor named William Griggs, and he diagnosed them with witchcraft. That was his diagnosis.
On VHS. That's great. Oh, it's called The Craft. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. So they arrested their Caribbean slave Tituba, and two women that lived nearby. And their names were Sarah Osborne, who was just a homeless beggar woman, and Sarah Good, who was this just poor elderly widowed woman. So they thought that this poor old woman that lived by herself, just poor, was the main suspect. So Sarah Good, which is weird, it's ironic, her last name. So these three were brought to court, and the girls that were accusing them for cursing them came to the court, and they were all putting on a big show, contorting, screaming, convulsing, what have you. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure it was genuine. Maybe they just didn't like these women. Who knows? Women have done worse to kill each other. Jealousy is a terrible thing.
You're telling me the town will kill these ladies if I just say this that they were witches? All right.
Well, you gotta first you gotta scream and contort.
You gotta
right?
sell it. You gotta sell it.
You gotta sell it. You could even do things like you can scratch yourself on the arm a little bit.
It's kind of weird how much change could happen in a world from two liars.
Right? I know.
Oh, these two girls lied. Change our laws.
Oh,
Kill all the witches.
yes. Yeah, and it just started a whole clusterfuck.
Man.
So their Caribbean slave pleaded guilty, actually, and the other two denied it. And she said basically she wanted to purge the evil of the white Puritans.
She's like, fuck this, I'm out. I hate being a slave. Kill me.
Yeah, I don't know. So this sparked the mass hysteria of the Salem witch trials. So they would target women who lived alone or studied the occult, or just weird old ladies, or women who were still single after 25 years old. And they would they would test them. They were executed after they failed these weird trials that proved or disproved witchcraft. So there were, it looks like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 7 tests that they performed. So the first one, the most well-known one, was the swim test. So these guys, the prosecutors, believed that since witches spurned baptism, they were never baptized and were very much against it. Water would reject them. So as a result, they would not be able to sink. So they would just float. So any women that floated or tried to swim were witches.
Makes sense. Didn't Jesus walk on water?
Right? Exactly. Weird, huh?
Strange.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. So then we have the witches' marks. And witches' marks
that's like the little tattoo right above their back, like their lower back, the little tattoo of a cat.
Little tramp stamp.
old cat tramp stamp. That's the witch's mark right there. I know. Wait, let's see.
That's actually one of the things where they looked for were tattoos. But that also included birthmarks, scars, sores, moles, acne, and extra nipples, which was mentioned frequently. I don't know if you ever read or saw Good Omens. Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. There was a dude in there. Fuck, I forget his name. I think it might have been Nigel or something like. No, I don't know. It wasn't Nigel. He was the old dork that. Whoever the other guy was, he was this witch hunter, and he would always ask if the lady had extra nipples.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. I forget his name. Damn it.
He was in a lot of movies, that guy. I see his face, but I don't know his name. He's
Yeah, Brandon mentioned that too. So they say that having these marks on them were uh, evidence that they had direct contact with the devil.
You're a human. You're evil.
Yes. Um, so the third test was the poke and scratch test.
That's my favorite one here.
Yeah, they couldn't if they couldn't find any marks, accusers would make them themselves. So if these women didn't flinch or bleed, they determined that they were witches. Um, and they thought maybe by poking them or scratching them, it might encourage hidden things or hidden marks to come up. You know, I don't know. People have always been dumb. Eventually, there were people whose jobs specifically were to poke witches, poke holes into witches, and they called them prickers. There was literally a job like, oi, Benjamin, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, Daddy, I want to be a pricker. Oh, that's an honest job there. A pricker. I wonder if that's where the insult prick came from. Like, you're such a fucking prick.
Little pokey thing. A
Yeah,
tiny pokey thingy.
yeah, it could also literally just be a dick. I don't know. Um,
I want
so
to see a pricker versus the Witcher. A Witcher versus a pricker.
yeah, I want to see that too. Pull it up. So prayer. So they people believe that witches actually couldn't recite scripture out loud. So they would have them sit and recite scripture from memory. And if they made any mistakes or forgot something, they were guilty of being a witch and they were hung.
Makes sense.
Yeah. This is a weird one. Cakes. So, this one's so weird. So they made women pee and like took a sample of their urine and made a cake out of it and then fed it to a dog. And if the dog like reacted or acted strangely, it meant their pee was cursed and put a spell on the dog.
Alan, that kind of makes sense because a dog will eat anything.
Yeah, I mean their digestive tracts are so short that they can pretty much eat anything and they'll be
So
fine.
a
So
little bit of pee in there. I'd bet on that one. You know, like if I was like, I'm not a witch. Let's do the cake test. Let's make some piss cakes.
something tells me that they would be oversensitive as to, how the dog reacted. They're like, oh, they're scratching more than usual, or like, you know, they're,
He
they're
barked. You're a
sleeping
witch.
more. Why is he
Yeah.
barking? That dog doesn't usually bark. You know.
There's some guy in the back blowing on like a fucking dog whistle.
She's a witch.
She's kill her.
So here's another. It's called the touch test. So if someone laid a hand on them and the accused would react negatively, they were a witch. So basically all they did was put their hand on them and they were like, if the lady's like, like, oh, she's a witch. But like, I'm pretty sure any of the accused women would be like, they wouldn't react like that. So it's kind of dumb. Okay. Incantations. So they would force a witch to request that the devil uncurse their victims. So they would have them communicate with the devil in front of people who were supposedly cursed, right in front. So
That's a
they would
gotcha though. That's like, hey, do some witchcraft to prove you're not a witch.
right. Yeah,
Got him.
yeah, stupid. Yeah, I I pulled up a picture of the scene in Monty Python. Um, it's not the life of Brian, is it?
It could be.
I think it's Life of Brian. But the scenes like, are ducks and driftwood also witches? Because they float.
Yes.
It might be. All right. So those are the witches. So since witches are often associated with the pentagram, I decided to look into the pentagram significance. So today it's associated with Satan.
Satan?
But it's a symbol that's been recognized around the world since ancient times. It even dates back to 3500 BC in ancient Mesopotamia, once again. And they would inscribe the symbol onto pottery and artifacts. And it also held significance in Japan, which I'll show in just a second here, which basically represented harmony of the elements and peace. So it was obviously, as Christianity and Catholicism came about, they denounced any pagan or any other religion as they went and took over everything. And since the pentagram was such a prevalent symbol in all of these cultures, they decided that they would associate it with evil, like they do. So yeah, it was to encourage people to stop practicing. So on my PowerPoint, I pulled up an ancient picture of a pentagram that they found in a Mesopotamian dig site.
Number 14.
Yeah, it's labeled their artifacts that they dig up here. I guess it was the 14th artifact that they found on that dig site.
It's a poorly drawn pentagram. It's a little chunky. Maybe it looked better before. It might look better before they found it.
I mean, it's pretty difficult to carve into that. Like, look how hard that rock is.
They used witchcraft to do it.
Oh, probably.
It looks like there's a little Harry Potter thing at the bottom too. Oh, that's it. We're off YouTube.
So this is Jesus. And before the Catholics got all crazy, the pentagram actually had Christian significance, which represented the 5 wounds of Jesus during his crucifixion. So he was nailed in his hands and in his feet. And I was unaware of I wonder if it goes all the way up to his crown of thorns, but there's also the top point of the star is pointing to his abdomen. Do you know of an injury that Jesus had during his crucifixion in his abdomen? Because I don't know, actually.
I'm a devout Christian. No, I think he was hit with a spear. I think they speared him in the chest, if I recall, or something. That might have been some other son of Christ that got speared in the chest too. I don't know, but I think he was speared in the chest. Also, this guy's got some long ass arms, yo.
This is very disproportionate. I know. He could run on his knuckles, bro.
Cro-Magnon man, Jesus.
How did they even catch him?
Stretch arm Jesus.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. So this is ancient Babylonian. So their pentagram looked more like a circle in the middle with the 5 points on the outside. So they found that in ancient Babylon as well. So let's talk about our male counterparts of witches later on. Wizards. Shall we?
You're wizard, Harry.
Yes.
Jesus was stabbed in his side, though. He wasn't stabbed directly in the center with the holy lance. Right. I don't know.
I remember now. You see a lot of crucifixes with the him bleeding out of his side there.
Mm-hmm. It's I guess they wanted him to breathe, so they put it out in a hole in his chest.
Yeah.
Breathe, Jesus.
Oh boy. So wizards, where did they start from? Here do we derived. Okay, so it's derived from Middle English from the word whiz, W-Y-S, meaning wise. And then erd, A-R-D, it's usually a that who is like it's hard to explain that suffix. But anyway. Yeah, and they are often referred to alchemists and philosophers in European cultures anyway as the wise, the wizards. Um, and this actually paralleled Egyptian characters and stories found on what they call the Westcar papyrus. This particular document that they found contains stories of wizard-like individuals and magic powers and whatnot. And there were also Japanese wizards, or those who practiced alchemy, and they called it the study of natural science and occultism. And they called them the onmyoji. Onmyoji. The most well-known was Abe no Saimei, which they deemed the Merlin of Japan. So let's go over this Egyptian wizard. So they had one story of a man who created a crocodile out of wax to hunt down a man who his wife cheated on.
It was made of wax as well.
Let's see here. And then there's this other dude. His name was Didai. And Didai could reattach the heads of animals that had been previously decapitated.
Wow, an Egyptian Frankenstein?
Wow, yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I see doodle. I put up a picture of the papyrus that they recovered with these stories on it on the PowerPoint here.
Are these hieroglyphics?
Yes, they appear to be.
Because I could read some of those words. That one looks like a tree.
Trees, huh? In Egypt. So let's talk about the legend of Abe. Is it Abe? I'm not very good at saying Japanese.
I just thought it was a Japanese guy
correctly.
named Abe.
Abe no Saimei, and he lived in between 921 to 1005 CE. Apparently his name means fabulous nightbird. He was an astrologer, philosopher, and an alchemist. And as his popularity grew, he was highly regarded as being a wise, amazing genius. And this guy could, foresee the gender of unborn babies. He could find lost objects in his mind's eye, and he was also an exorcist.
Huh?
His mother, they say, was a fox spirit, which is known as a kitsune. Kitsune?
Is that like a fox with a lot of heads?
Yeah, it was a fox. Yeah, crazy fox series. I don't know if it's got a lot of heads. I can look it up, I guess. Let's see here.
Because, ow.
Kitsune.
A fox with a lot of heads would be creepy.
Oh, it looks like it's just a fox with a lot of tails.
A lot of tails. Okay, yeah, it's the tails, not the heads.
Yeah.
Heads, tails. Sometimes I lose.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I guess it has a ton of tails. Man, furries get a lot of. Anyway, going back to
loose butt.
So let's see, and as a child, he could command weak giants known as Oni as a child. So I pulled up a picture of this dude, Saimei. Am I saying his name right? Saimei. It's like Paimei. Saimei. And yeah, they just have him sitting here. He's got a cool little wizard's hat on. He looks like he's deeply contemplating. And I got another angle of him. And if I don't know if you noticed in the background, but there are Japanese lanterns and they have pentagrams on them.
Yes, there is. They wrote them in English too, because I could tell that they're pentagrams. Hello.
So this looks like a little nut surrounded by 2 leaves. I didn't look up the significance of it because I didn't know how to search for it in Google. But this is another statue that you commonly see that honors Saime. They called the pentagram a gobosai. Gobosai, yeah. So I found a fun thing. Saime, arch rival was Ashiya Doman, and he was a sorcerer. So one day, homeboy Doman comes by. He's heard of Saime, and he says to himself, "I'm gonna find this guy. I'm gonna battle him." So he challenged him to a wizard duel, and I took the story off directly off a website here.
By the way, I think you're giving spoilers to that show Lovecraft Country.
Oh, really? Why?
There's a fox in it with a lot of tails.
Oh.
And it's based off of this.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So if what you're about to say here is written here, I'm sure it might happen in the show too.
Hey, whatevs.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it says, I quote, "On the day of the competition, many officials and witnesses came to watch. The 2 sorcerers met in the imperial gardens for the contest. First, Doman picked up a handful of sand, concentrated over it for a moment, and threw it into the air. The particles of sand turned into countless swallows, which began to flit around the garden. Saime waved his folding fan one time, and all of the swallows turned back into grits of sand. Next, Saime recited a spell. A dragon appeared in the sky above. Rain began to fall all around them. Domon recited his spell. However, as hard as he tried, he could not cause the dragon to vanish. Instead, the rain grew fiercer and fiercer, filling the garden up with water to Domon's waist. Finally, Saime cast his spell again. The rain stopped, and the dragon vanished." So, Saime's spell could not be stopped by Domon. So the third and final contest was a divination challenge. The contestants had to guess the contents of a wooden box. Domon, indignant in having lost the previous round, challenged Saime. "Whoever loses this round will become the other's servant." Domon confidently declared that there were 15 oranges inside the box. Saime contradicted him, saying that there were 15 rats in the box. The emperor and his attendants...
I don't know who these people were. I don't. It weren't my family.
Were you in there?
I'd be real old if I was.
Well, I mean, you're pretty old for a rat anyway. Like,
True.
They live like, what, 3-4 years, and you've lived for like, what, 100, 105? Didn't you say? Something like that. You're an immortal rat.
I had some surgery done.
I mean, you look great.
A lot of bacteria. I'm basically a standing bacteria. They never die. They just keep farting.
They just living on farts. Wow. Who knew that was the secret to immortality? Damn. So the emperor and his attendants who had prepared the test shook their heads, for they had put 15 oranges in the box. They announced that Saime had lost. However, when they opened the box, 15 rats leaped out. So that just means that the rats got in there and ate the oranges.
We do like oranges. They're tasty.
They are really good, dude. So not only had Saime divined the contents of the box, he also transformed the oranges into rats. Oh, so that's what happened. Tricking Doman and the entire court. Victory went to Saime. That's cheating. I don't like that.
I want to be one of these court cases. Imagine you're like, Judge Judy Brown, and you're sitting there and like, okay, well, I can change these oranges into rats. And they,
Well, maybe Domon knew ahead of time because these guys who were initiating these challenges or whatever told him like, hey man, there's 15 oranges in this box, and Domon's like, yeah, okay, thanks. You know, Saime caught wind of it and was like, fuck you, they're rats. I don't know. So, oh dang, I had a picture of those two fighting. Oh yeah, there they are. There they are right there.
Is that lady on the floor? Who's that lady on the floor?
I think it's just the other wizard. I'm not sure.
Got messed up.
It's kind of crazy looking. Look at his muscles. Like, were they? What's going on?
He's both old and strong.
Damn, dude.
And melting. He's like,
yeah, he looks like he's melting.
He's made of butter.
Yeah.
He's made of wax. He's a wax crocodile.
Wax crocodile. It comes full round. Let's talk about voodoo. So voodoo was voodoo witchcraft. That's pretty cool stuff. So the proposed roots of voodoo is almost unanimously agreed that it was based out of West Africa. So voodoo or vodun comes from the Fon language meaning spirit. And it might have evolved from ancient traditional ancestor worship in West Africa. And a lot of West Africans were captured as slaves. And when they came over to America, they brought voodoo with them. But slavers tried to repress voodoo practices. So, but instead of, relinquishing voodoo altogether, the slaves started to intertwine Catholicism and voodoo, much like the pagans did.
As a way they wouldn't get called out for doing voodoo.
Yeah, so it was kind of like they didn't want to. So the way that they made sense of Christianity was, and Catholicism was attributing their own spirits to, they called them Iwas, IWAS, to the patron saints in Catholicism. So, for instance, Saint Peter is Papa Legba, and Papa Legba is pretty. You see him as the top hat wearing, skull face painted. He wears the skull necklaces around his neck. So Papa Legba is actually the guardian of the spirit world, whereas Saint Peter is known for holding the keys to heaven and a shipmaker. So they made that parallel just because they were both associated with the transition from life to death. Subsequently, Saint Patrick is Damballa, who is a snake spirit, and the Saint Patrick. If you know the story of Saint Patrick, the skinny of it was there was a story of him defeating a snake that tried to consume him by bashing it with a shillelagh.
I thought he was just getting Christians out of he was pushing Christians out of with that green place. Saint Pat Ireland. There we go. Yeah, there we are.
Yeah, I mean that's just one of the stories he's associated with, and that's just that's the reason why they associated Damballa with Saint Patrick. So I put up a picture of Saint Peter and Papa Legba. So Papa Legba, in his very ancient origins, is just this bald dude with a big beard, just like Saint Peter. So they both they actually both kind of look the same, if you ask me. So the modern adaptation of Papa Legba is shown here. I thought this was just a cool picture, but it's him. He's smoking a cigar and he's wearing a cap and it's got a bunch of feathers on it, and he's got face paint, make himself look like a skull. He's got a snake around his neck. It's pretty neat.
I never understood people that have like hats with skulls on it like that, like because those skulls are obviously too small to be real skulls, unless they're like the skulls of children, but they're not. Those aren't children's skulls. So are there like tiny people that these people have murdered and chopped their heads off to adorn their hats with?
Wow, it's just symbolic.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
It's okay. I mean, it could be tiny people. Who knows? Like maybe they go out and they're like they know they're pygmies.
And where's the rest of the body? Is there like some other person that wears skeleton bodies without the head?
I mean, I don't know.
Like muffin tops. What do you do with the bottom?
Oh man. So here's St. Patrick and Dumballa. So here we have St. Patrick. He's got the sun around his head, the holy sun, going back to sun worship, like we always have. He's holding a staff, and he has 8 pointed crosses on his robe, and he's pointing down to a bunch of snakes that are looking at him. He's just kind of nonchalantly pointing at little snakes. And
Excuse
next
me,
to him,
sir, you dropped your snakes over here.
just I don't know. And then we got Dumballa here, who it looks like, and this is kind of a stitching of Dumballa, and he's got two serpent tails coming out. He's got a humanoid body. The head has horns on it.
African spirits are so much cooler than European ones.
Yeah, they're pretty dope. Like I don't know. Catholicism got so boring. There's only one God. It's like, oh my god. Like I want these guys were, I don't know, and it's interesting because they didn't, African spirits were kind of they weren't definitively good or bad. They were just spirits that represented something, and they could be scary sometimes and they could be good. You know, just one entity. So it's a little more, in my opinion, a little more deep, because you know everybody kind of has a good and bad side to them. So I think that was just sort of like the I think that's why Christians are so fucked up, because there's like you're definitely good, or you're definitely bad. You do one bad thing, then you're bad. You know, they don't acknowledge the complications of human nature.
I thought you could whip yourself in the back and you become good again.
Well, I mean, you're
Or,
even born a sinner. I don't know. So I found a cool picture. Looks like a mosaic of St. Patrick as Dumballa. So he's both here. Kind of interesting. So no voodoo conversation is complete without Mary Laveau. Laveo. God damn it. I wish I looked up the pronunciations of these.
Laveau, I think it's
Laveau.
Marie Laveau.
Thank you.
I've been to her grave.
Oh,
I've
shit.
been there when you still could actually get in there. I don't think they let people in there anymore because everybody defaces it all the friggin' time.
That's so fucked up. That pisses me off. So she attracted a lot of attention. She had a religious rite. It was the 1800s. A religious rite at St. John's Eve, and it attracted 12,000 people, both black and white, in New Orleans. And she was also Catholic and had her followers attend mass at church. But her day job was a hairdresser. And she popularized the iconic little trinkets associated with voodoo, such as dolls and potions, that kind of thing. And gamblers shout her name for good luck to this day. And here's a picture
I've
of her.
I've never heard that before. Somebody get the slots. Marie Laveau.
Laveau. Yeah. I don't know. Interesting.
Maybe they do it more down south, but yeah.
So interesting little observation that I made. So I pulled up a picture of Marie Laveau. She's got a skull and all these little etchings on her wall behind her. She got a little voodoo doll and potions and that kind of thing. And I noticed a little thing that looks kind of like a square and compass. right above the skull. Hmm. 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 Hmm.
Did you put on your
Interesting.
detective's hat?
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like one. And I mean, they are associated with the occult, and she was too. But being a Catholic, it couldn't be Masonic because Catholics hated Masons, but the Catholics also hated voodoo, except for her. I don't know. Whatevs. Um, so modern Louisiana voodoo, you see it most in New Orleans. They also call it Haitian voodoo, and they retain the patron saints and spirits. They still have Christian influence, but what happened was the Haitian government actually banned voodoo and forced Haitians to adopt strict Catholicism. So what happened was basically it was just a rejection of being forced to do so. It was kind of a resistance movement to continue to practice voodoo. And so because of that, like Catholics do, listen, I don't mean to shit on Catholics all the time if y'all are Catholic, but they did they did want absolute power all the time. So it has nothing to do with the actual Bible or religion. It's just the people in power. Just saying. Anyway,
You need somebody on top.
I guess. But yeah, I mean, there were healing elements. I mean, they did sacrifice animals, but it wasn't much. I mean, it was for spiritual stuff, and it's no different from us, slaughtering massive amounts of cattle and chickens and whatnot to eat and waste. I won't go into that. So, I mean, they also were believers basically in the Indian equivalent of karma, which is kind of like the spirits punishing you for being an asshole. They also believe that the dead and the living occupy the same space in this world. So just because you can't see them, they're on a different plane. They are there, and because of that, they can communicate with them fairly easily.
So you're trying to say voodoo is like quantum physics? Gotcha.
Bro. I don't know what that square and compass looking thing looks like. Maybe I'm just jumping to conclusions here. So I put up a picture of a voodoo priest. So if you can see here, um, he is wearing a robe around his neck, like you see Catholic priests wear, a red robe. Oh, is that I think it's a scarf extending
It
from his
looks like a
head.
scarf. It looks like a.
Okay, so maybe
Is it
my
also like a
observation.
fake snake? Is he holding a fake? Is that a belt? Is that a snakeskin belt he's holding?
Not sure, but that's interesting. Um, yeah, he's got his top hat. He's adorned with various beads and whatnot. There's masks around him of individuals with horns, and yeah, this is just a modern church gathering. And actually, voodoo has a lot of mostly black and white followers. That you don't see a lot of people of other cultures practicing voodoo, but yeah, a lot of white people really embraced voodoo, and it's been kind of accepted. So it's kind of interesting. So going to North American origins, um, I know no witchery is complete without talking about shamanism and Native American witches. So North American shamans were considered to be benevolent. They were the healers, the advisors, the blessers. They were singers and storytellers and teachers. And they were called the medicine people. And they meditate and gain access to the spirit world. And then they come back and convey what they learned from them. So basically, you see a lot of the times, like they'll use, some kind of drug, perhaps ayahuasca, and they sit in a hot box and join the spirit world. There's a specific religion right now called Santo Daime that's still practiced today in some small circles. I knew people who practiced Santo Daime rituals up in the when I lived in the Bay Area, still in California, and San Francisco Bay Area. And these people were, I would consider to be affluent hippies.
Did they use the ayahuasca?
They did, yes. They sat in hot huts, and they sweat a lot, and yeah, used ayahuasca to trip balls and talk to the spirits. So the rituals for healing and storytelling, all this kind of crap, it was extensive, strict rituals, and if you mess them up, the blessing or healing ritual would not work. I don't know if they were allowed do-overs or
do they kill you?
Yeah, if it's you accidentally curse someone, but it had to be exact, or no go. So each tribe had specific rituals and rites according to the spirits that they spoke to and associated with. I talked to a Hopi Indian while I was in Arizona, and this guy was telling me about all the different sub-tribes that they had. So they were named after different animals. There was I believe there was a hawk, there was bear, coyote, something like that.
Wax crocodile.
And he told me about this whole marriage ritual where you had to marry an individual from a different tribe, and the woman would go over to the tribe, and then she became part of that tribe, as opposed to keeping. So say she was part of the coyote tribe and she went and married somebody from the bear tribe, she would become a bear tribe person.
These furries are all over the place. In every culture, in every region of the world, they took over.
They did. Yeah, and so they didn't consider shamans and witches to be supernatural. They were just part of, like, there's trees and there's rocks. There's people who aren't shamans and witches and shamans. It wasn't something that was out of the ordinary. It was. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I found a picture, a really old photo of a Navajo shaman from 1880. And he's sitting there. He's got a rug for his background, and he's holding a stick and something that was woven. Yeah. So now, the most terrifying witches and demons that I ever encountered, that I ever heard of, were Native Americans, and their stories are fucking terrifying, and I'm actually pretty scared of all the demons and everything that I've ever heard of, with the exception of maybe some I forget, but anyway, yeah, these are pretty terrifying. So there is a witch, or they call it a skinwalker, and they're like, in the Navajo, call them the Yi Naldilushi. I'm butchering that, and it's so scary. So the legend is shared amongst the Navajo, the Hopi, the Apache, the Ute, and the Pueblo people. So this thing, it would stalk its victims in the form of a wolf or a bear or a cougar or a coyote, and when the time was right, they would beckon them from safety by mimicking the cries of a child or somebody who was in distress. So, this person would hear this and go and investigate to see if, everything was okay. And so what they would do is, once they were alone, the skinwalker would kill and consume everything from the victim except its skin. And they would fit into their skin. So they would take over their skin and walk around in it, hence skinwalker.
It's like the opposite of a furry.
Yeah. And then so they would rejoin the tribe, or they even said like today they would rejoin like households or whatever in their skin. And people would say if somebody was acting funny or if they were, you know, kind of like violent, out of character, you know, whatever, they would say that they'd been consumed by a skinwalker. So in order to become a skinwalker, a person has to do something fucked up, like, you know, kill a close family member or something. And this would give them the ability to shapeshift.
Whoa.
So they can shapeshift into into any animal. And in their human form, they would wear the skulls of animals on their head. Excuse me. So they believe that the mere mention of a skinwalker could summon them, and they stalk you until the right moment comes to consume you. So me just talking about a skinwalker right now, look out my window here.
You said it more than 3 times too.
Yeah.
Oh, you're screwed.
It's all right.
I think I see something in the reflection behind you, actually. It's... Oh!
Ah! And I guess they can read minds too, so they know where you're thinking of going. They know when you're afraid, so they're able to kind of predict what you're about to do.
Kind of like Santa. Oh, that's not like Santa at all.
No. So I pulled up a picture of a skinwalker. So there's one dude in his human form wearing the skull and the he's got a fur cape draped over himself. And then another form, the skinwalker, transforming into a wolf. It almost looks like a hyena, actually, but
Yeah.
wolf. So it seems to be in the process of transforming from human to animal. Those are scary. I don't like skinwalkers. Freaky.
And you also live out west, so there are more of them out there than out east.
Definitely. And in Arizona, there's a place called Skinwalker Ranch, which is known to have a lot of supernatural phenomena there, one of which being an actual skinwalker.
Isn't that where they filmed Star Wars? Oh, I think that's Skywalker Ranch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm off.
Sight. So I pulled up another really fucking creepy picture of skinwalkers. These will haunt me. I don't like these. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people standing there. They're wearing masks, one of which looks like almost looks like a plague doctor mask. It's just like these tiny little beady eyes with a really long beak. Can't see any of their faces. A couple of them have skulls. One of them it looks like they just have a paper sack over their head.
These are creepy, yeah.
Yeah, these are really creepy. Like, of all the monsters, like, these creep me out. I mean, a long time ago, I even wrote a story about Skinwalker. They really affected me. Because it's almost believable, like the way they tell it, and in the way like all the tribes are convinced that these things are real. It's pretty spooky.
Maybe they were just describing something else as well. Like maybe if instead of like somebody actually turning into a wolf or something, it could be like somebody was, I don't know. It might just be somebody that's off or possessed or some other thing that's.
I'm sure
the only way to describe it.
Yeah, exactly. I think there was their justification or the explanation of somebody who had a mental illness or something. It's what I'm hoping.
Or maybe like somebody was bit by a rabid coyote and then they got rabies.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
so maybe there's just somebody that had rabies or
it could be.
Or IBS. One day you wake up and you need to use the bathroom all the time and it changes your life.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, which is actually on your side, on the East Coast,
Yeah.
it's called a Wendigo. So a Wendigo is also creepy as fuck. So it starts off as a spirit that possesses a human, and then the human slowly becomes this monstrosity, because in order to survive they have to eat human flesh, and as they keep eating they transform into these giant malformed disgusting creatures. Like they keep growing and growing. And this was a result of having to eat human flesh for survival. So the Donner Party.
Bunch of Wendigos.
Yeah. So this legend is known by the Eastern Cree, the Saltiu, the West Main Swampy Cree, the Naskapi, the Naskapi, and the Innu. So
West Main Swampy Cree. That's a cool name.
yeah, that is kind of neat. So yeah, over time they became these forest lurking giants, and 8 people to retain their mortality. They had no lips, they had weird teeth, and they hissed a lot. Just fucking creepy. Fallout had a really cool, accurate image of a Wendigo that I pulled up. I thought out of all the ones, I thought this was the coolest picture. They did a pretty good job sticking to the description of what they are supposed to look like. A lot of artistic adaptations of the Wendigo had deer horns and deer skulls and stuff, but I think that's actually supposed to be a skinwalker. They nailed the Wendigo. It's really creepy.
I don't want that chasing me.
Yeah, so fuck that. Yeah, so there we go. Origins of witches and wizards and all and what have you.
I'm not gonna be able to sleep tonight. I'm kind of scared now.
Yeah, the skinwalkers are something else. Yeah, out of all, yeah, those are fucking creepy. So do you have any questions?
If I'm being chased by a skinwalker, and I throw a woman in front of him, and he eats her, does that make me a witch?
Let me think about this.
I don't think that makes sense at all. Actually, that question. Let's nix that question.
Okay.
I don't like it. I don't like that question. I would never do that anyway. So I'm not a witch.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
Also, I'm just really gassy sometimes, so I float a lot.
Oh right, like that one witch in the tree.
Witch in the tree. She was hanging there. She wasn't. Wow. No, I don't. I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions for me?
Are you a witch?
Fuck. I do have a pumpkin over here.
Pumpkin.
Whoa. It's purple pumpkin. Whoa, my camera's freaking out.
My camera does not like that. Whoa. I don't have a pumpkin. I need to I need to decorate, actually. Come to think of it. I'm going to eat pasta tonight. It's going to be awesome.
Made of people. Do you think there's no cannibals because if anybody ate the flesh of a person, it might taste so good that they actually would need more? And maybe Wendigos are real.
Well, I mean, there's people in the South that like long pork or long pig. There's actual cannibalistic.
Is that code for human?
Yeah, it's code for human.
Oh man.
There's still some places around the world that eat people for spiritual purposes. Like it's just kind of a thing. Like they just eat people. It's totally like acceptable. Just do it.
I like that the spirit bath or whatever, where they rub baby blood or something, and then they eat sushi off of people.
What? Where's this from?
There's the spirit feeding. I forget what it is. Where they rub they have like a baby blood feast or something, or placenta. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I've
I'm
heard of
not.
placenta eating. Well, somebody's like, "We're gonna eat your placenta." What the fuck is wrong with you? Placenta. Ew.
Hey,
No.
it's yours though. You should be able to
I don't
sell it. You could
care.
sell it on the black market. I'm sure you can get some money for that.
I'm
It's
not gonna
probably
eat my
illegal.
own dandruff. Like, why would I eat something just because it's mine?
Oh, I don't know. It could be good. You might. You don't know what you're missing.
You know what? That's okay. I'm willing to forego that experience.
Yeah, I probably would pass on a placenta salad as well.
God. I've heard of that though. I've heard of like yuppie ladies like, oh yeah, no, it's totally good. You just barbecue it or you fry it in some oil or you just totally good. No.
Short pig.
I think who is it? Who is it? Tom Cruise or Nicole Kidman? Popular. I think they mentioned that for the first time and then people started doing it. I don't know.
It's weird how things get started, like these stories, like witches and skinwalkers. Like the first person that made these must have been a very troubled person, and then it just caught on.
Very troubled yet influential people.
Yeah, troubled
Like
and influential. Yeah.
just like Tom Cruise. We've mentioned Tom Cruise a few times in this show, haven't we? Like the horse.
Yes, we have. Tom he's a tall guy, very
He's
popular.
he's an interesting bro. He's an
Taller
interesting
than
guy.
me. He's taller than me. Oh, yeah.
Don't know about that. Anyway, well, I think that concludes episode 7 of Origins of Things and Stuff.
I think so.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining me on this adventure of learning, and I will see you next time.
Bye.